Hello, this is Gene. I just want to talk a little bit about the politics that's going on in my country right now. I'm going to label this thing as the scourge of the modern white leftist or liberal. But I just want to say, not all, not all, not all. I'll be like Jesse Peterson and talk about this, and probably throughout this video I'll say the same thing, because people will still say that I'm against women because I think that they're a problem, especially liberal women, especially young liberal women who have idea that they know everything in life and they take no real responsibility for anything in the modern world, but they still want everything to change for them. And if they don't get their way, they just squeak online and saying it's racist, sexist, misogynist, and stuff. But I'm not going to leave out the Democrats or the Republicans, because they're part of the problem as well. We're in a position right now that it's a crazy time in this country. Of course, everything is amplified because we have social media, so if something happens, people put it on there, and people think that represents everybody in the United States, and when clearly it doesn't. There are billions and billions of bots that will continually push a message whatever side wants to put out there. Musk is trying to get rid of the bots, but they're still there. So the AI everywhere. And then you'll hear that. People actually respond to a text or a tweet saying that you're just a bot. And most of the time, those are not. They're human beings. Like I've got that. Someone says, you're just a bot for the right. And I'm not even right. I am a registered Democrat. Now, I have issues with Bobby Kennedy as well. And I'm going to get through all this. But I still think the biggest issue that we have right now in the voting block, you can take out black women because they vote en masse for one party. I'm not saying it's a cult, but it's kind of like that. They don't really ever change anything. There are a couple times that the black men have been more conservative in their voting paths, but they just don't vote. Some of them is because they're in jail and they can't vote. But a lot of men don't vote because they're out there, doing what they have to do in their community, and they don't think that whoever the white man or whoever's in charge is going to do anything for them. And I'll talk about that too, how Trump is now pandering to the black community as well. He did this in 2020, and everybody said he got so much more votes from them, and he still lost the election. Whether you believe it was actually a real election or not, I still think there's some issues with that. It's just like when Gore thought he won, then they actually did the entire count of the entire state, and Bush actually won Florida, and he won the presidency. So, I could talk about that as well. At the time, all that Gore wanted to do was just to actually recount places that are mostly heavy Democratic places. And back then, I voted for Gore. I voted for Clinton twice. I voted for Kerry, and I voted for Obama twice. Last time I voted first time I ever voted for Republican was Trump in 2016, and that was because Hillary Clinton was a criminal and should have been in jail. So that was my choices at that point. And then I did vote for Trump over, who would he go against? Biden, because Biden was part of the problem, especially the ones that he was under Obama. But I want to talk about this, and like I said, if you actually sit around and actually listen to what I have to say, that'll be first than most people do. They don't. The only videos that I get any type of traction on is when I'm talking about Mark Olbridge, or when he talks about footballers and their sexual particularities. I'm sure this won't have a whole lot of views, but I'm going to say it anyway. Again, X or Twitter is not representative of the entire United States, but it is people that just yell in the background, and they get their voices heard and things change. And whatever you want to say about the parties, both of them will listen to who has all the influence that they have on Twitter, and all of a sudden they'll change what they want to do as well. So there's been a lot of crazy things that's happened. We had the assassination attempts on Trump. Clearly there was at least problems there, a lot of negligence. I don't know if it was an inside job. I'm not going down there. It takes a lot for me to actually believe in a conspiracy. I mean, I still don't believe 9/11 was a conspiracy. I don't think it was an inside job. I'm not saying that our intel didn't tell us. I mean, there might have been people in that realm that didn't actually tell us, but I was there available. I was there, and I was privy to stuff that most people didn't have. So I know what happened that day. Um, we just got caught with our pants down, and that can happen. So it's not the first time it's happened, and this can happen at assassination attempt as well. You just think that they're not going to do it. I think there was a lot of problems with that, but we have that, and then before that we had the debate, and Biden was clearly impaired, right? And even back then, I thought it looked like they just pushed him out there so everybody would see it so they can actually replace him. And I think that was the Democrats' playbook anyway, because at that point, Trump has actually been above. He was in a place now that he was probably going to win the election before the debate. It was 50-50 or a little bit above that. Depends whatever polls you're looking at. But he was doing well in the swing states, so I think he wins the election. He may not have won the actual popular vote, but I think he still would have won the election. So you have that, and Biden clearly did bad, and then they still tried to say that it was a cold, that he was tired, and a lot of people from the Democratic Party came out and said he's still good. He's sharp of attack. Vice President Kamala said he was, and she was there forever. And I think what Robbie Kennedy said a couple days ago was that she's the concealer in chief. And I think that's something that should be used every time that we talk about her. She claimed that she was with him all the time. So she'd know that he's going down the road that shouldn't have been the president. And he's going to talk tomorrow. And I'm going to talk about this whole thing that everybody thought he was dead. If we just get into this whole thing, even on the right, on the far right, you get this idea that this is what's going on, that he's dead, and we have the proof of life and shit. And I'm like, he's still alive. I mean, of course, if they want to install Kamala to the presidency, they would want him to be dead so they could do it ethically, through the actual how you do that. He dies, she ascends to the presidency. There's no reason why for him not to do that. And if he had COVID, he shouldn't be out in public anyway. Now, he should have probably, when he was feeling good, he should have been on TV to say something. And he said in his note, if he actually wrote it, that he's going to do that. And he's going to do it tomorrow. And we'll see what he looks like tomorrow. It doesn't really matter. I think it's a fair point to say that maybe he should step down regardless from the presidency. And I think a lot of that in the background, I think that was coming at him. They're reporting from people that are not out there on the vengeance reporting, saying that he was actually told that if he didn't basically cede it to her, that they were going to do a 25 amendment on him, and he would lose any dignity on his way out. And I think they also got a balloon payment, and they're going to have his library and all that stuff, and he's going to have his legacy, and I'm sure that he's going to ensure that Hunter doesn't go to jail. All that shit's going to be part of what they do, and that's how politics are. It happens all the fucking time on both sides. And that's why a lot of people, not the 3% that are on Twitter that are complaining on either side, it's the 95 other 90,000, 26. Oh, I love this, my strokes and all that. The 90% of people that are sitting in the middle of the country know that he probably shouldn't be the president right now, and they're common sense people, and they think that things need to change. And a lot of people don't want the two-party system that we have. But this whole video was supposed to be about the scourge of politics in the West when it comes to white, modern, mostly white, liberal women, and their just lack of understanding what's going on and how it's going to very, very impact them, their children, and their children after that. They just don't have any idea. Everything's so, they're a one vote voter. If it's on abortion, that's what whatever it is, because they think it's all about going against women's rights. They don't care about the person inside them. And you could have these conversations with them, and they just can't. Some of them wake up, but they just can't have that. They still think it's my body, and I can do anything I want to do to it. But you can't. I can't go out here and drink all this 27 times and walk out there and then run over somebody. I'm going to jail for that. And the reason why I did it, because I did this to my body. So it's this idea that there is some sort of control over your body. Of course there is. You're not supposed to go out and hit people. That's your body. That's your hands. And they always say it's the white men that's trying to do this and take away their rights. And I'm like, it's not really. It may look like us, but a lot of the people that are in power that want this happen to be from a different background, let's say. Now, I'm not going to go down that because I've done it before, and there are other videos we can talk about that later on. But some of them are based on, they're all empathetic. The people in the West and Germany and all that stuff said, the refugees come to us, and it's going to be a great thing. I'm going to hug them and all that shit. But after all that, the crime is 100 times worse than it's ever been. A lot more rapes, more murders, and their social net is going away. They're going to be replaced, and everybody knows this. It's not like it's not going to happen because people in the West are not reproducing themselves. And these politicians think that the best thing to do is bring people from the third world to come in and mate with the native women. And that's going to help everything because at the end of the day, we'll all look a different color of coffee, and that's going to make us do better. We'll just still have a problem regardless. If you're a little bit lighter, maybe you'll be considered above something else. It's how it is all across the world. In Mexico, they have a lot of white Mexicans that have a huge amount of power in their government compared to the actual normal Mexicans that are descendants from Indians and stuff like that from that Central America and North America areas. And there's still going to be biases regardless because we're humans and we do this shit. We're tribal in nature. So we're going to see it this week that probably the most evil person that there is in the world is going to be talking to our Congress. Everybody was up in arms that there was nobody at the airport to meet Netanyahu. But it doesn't matter. Apparently, I don't know if this is confirmed, but the Speaker of the House says you can't go up and protest him. You can't say anything when he's in front of Congress and talking to him. Everybody's ever watched him go in front of Congress the last 20 years, he always gets standing ovations. He gets the most of anybody ever. And both sides stands up for him. The question is who runs this country, and I think we all understand who actually runs this country. It's the Zionists, and it's on both sides. Kamala is a Zionist. Biden is a Zionist. Trump is a Zionist. I don't know about Bobby, but I think he probably is as well. And what I mean by Zionist, that means that they believe that Israel has the right to defend themselves. But everything that comes from that is that they'll do everything that they have to do to make sure that they can do that. So if it does something here in this country and say, no, you're going to take all these Palestinians and you're going to move them all the way up to Europe or in the United States because we don't want to deal with them here anymore. Even though they're as close to their ethnic brothers as anybody in that region. They want to be all for themselves, and because there's some religious tie back to the homeland or the Holy Land, a lot of people in this country that are Christians think that they have to do this because in the Bible they are the chosen people. Well, people don't really read the Bible that well. Anyway, I don't want to go down there. There's when you go down there to that, that's the one that actually runs the world, right? But we're talking about elections in this country or in the West, that the people that have destroyed everything is these welcoming, empathetic people, and these people that complain, oh, these Karens and stuff. Almost all the Karens that you actually find out, they're not people on the right. These are women when they don't get their way, they get viral online, and all of them are people that are just, oh, I would absolutely vote the most radical leftist position, and then if somebody challenges them on anything, they can't control themselves. They're emotional, and all these people that are online right now, not the black women that actually live in their areas. There are a lot of white women that says, I'm going to vote for Kamala, and I have to do it because she's a woman and all that shit. And I'm like, that's all cultist behavior. And they would never want, in my neighborhood right here, I probably have 40% are black. There is no way that they would be in a community that was like that. They would not do it. They would not go into parts of Huntsville, but it's not really bad here. I mean, we have problems or some crime, but it's not, as a somewhat mid-sized city, it's not that bad here. It's not like Jackson, Mississippi or anything like that. But they would never live there. They wouldn't do it. They would want to be out here where the suburbs are and have their fences, and they would have a man behind there to make sure that nothing happens to them. But they just get online and they sit there and say, oh, you're sexist if you don't want Kamala to win, or if you talk about her past and how she actually rose to her prominence was basically just whoring herself out, that's sexist. Well, okay, I won't say it. I'll let Megyn Kelly say it or something like that. And they're going to use that. And I said as soon as this was happening, that they're going to say the sexist and the racist shit's going to come back. Even though I think we tried to tap it down recently, but the identity stuff, the gender identity, and all that stuff, we've been trying to fight against that. But it's back again, and it's going to be on steroids. I'm going to say you just don't want to do it because she's a woman, and there's no way in this country they want a woman to be the president. And there are a lot of people on the right that still believe that. Megyn Kelly says that most men are not going to vote for a woman. I think that's bullshit. Hillary got a lot of votes, so I don't think it has anything to do with it. Basically, what they've said is I've seen it. I will vote for a dung beetle. I will vote for a shit over Trump because they've been taught so much shit about Trump, and I said he's got issues, no question about it. But they think that he's basically Hitler, and they think that this is their call to action. First of all, they're keyboard warriors, right? Or they're on their phone, and they have to. Some of them actually go to a rally, or they'll march with their vaginas out, shit like that. But most of them are at home, and they just go on. They just screech online, and we just have to do it. We have to be active against Trump because Trump is this and this and this. Well, I'm going to say it wouldn't matter who is on the right; they would say the same shit. Because they think, based on that, mostly that one fucking area about abortion, especially young women, that somehow we're taking away their rights. All that really happened, and no matter how you actually explain it to them, is that it's no longer a federal issue, it's a state issue. But people don't understand how that works. The fact now she can go out and protest and have rallies and all that stuff in her own state and make sure that she can have abortion up to conceivement to that actually comes out of her. Because if she really wants to do that shit, go right ahead. I think that the common sense approach in this thing is, personally, I'd be against it altogether. And I would think there'd be some exceptions. But I have no problem to say, hey, after the first trimester, you can't do it anymore. Because 99.999% of all the women know that they're pregnant. And the fact that they either they're in denial or they don't have no accountability at all. They can't just go get a test. They can't go to their doctor and find out if they actually are that way. And I would definitely would have said all that would be free. I'd rather do that than just continually kill our replacement. And people like, Gene, talk about replacement. I don't want people to kill a human person before they have a chance to do anything. And it's about rape. It is they always take the very, very small amount of percentages, and it's so small. It's under 1%. It's under 0.000.1 that actually, when you get raped, you end up getting pregnant, and it's so low. In incest, it's so low. But okay, if you can prove that that's what happened, if you filed up a police report, all that shit, fine. I have no problem with it. But again, I would still be in the first trimester, so it'd still be the same thing. You could still have a regular trimester abortion. I'll be okay with that, and I think most people are okay with that. The people on the far right and some of the other ones that says no, and I agree with it, but I understand that you can't really do that. If you're going to go back and let the federal government do something about it, and we have this problem between the Supreme Court and Congress, and Congress wants to come out and we're going to do things and make it a law, and I'm like, it's just the last 4 or 5 years has been really bad when it comes to how the executive look at the Supreme Court. Even though when Trump lost some places at the Supreme Court, he didn't sit there and say that they're against the people, that they're traitors. And this is what people on the left do about those who are on the Supreme Court. And we've had assassination attempts of sitting Supreme Court justices as well. So when I say that, when I talk about as the scourge of what we have, I'm talking about a voting scourge, because these women will go to vote because they're one or two item people that they have to go against. I have to go to whoever's against pro-choice or something like that. And this is what they do. They don't look at the entire platform of an actual thing. I have a problem with Kennedy, because Kennedy is, at times, it sounds like he was okay all the way up to the birth, to have an abortion, and then he's wrapped it back. Same thing with his border. I don't know where he really stands on it. I mean, I like Kennedy. I like what he says. I'm an old school Democrat. I mean, but I want to tell you this, and this is a personal story. My mom was hardcore Democrat. She voted for Jesse Jackson. She obviously voted for voted for Ted. Ted obviously didn't become the nominee, but she did. She voted for Kennedy. She voted for LBJ. I mean, Mondale. In her entire life, all old school Democrat. She would have voted for Trump. Now, she hasn't been alive for a while, but I would tell you 100% she would have voted for Trump, especially against Hillary, because she always had issues with females. Because this is something you find out when you have a strong. And my mom was a strong woman. Bad choices over her life, but a strong woman. She would have called out any of these women that act like this. And if she would have looked at what Hillary had done, she wouldn't have said, I'm going to vote for her because I have to do it for the party. She said, fuck that. She would have went the other way and she would have voted for Trump. There's no question. She loved Trump. She loved Trump in the 80s and the 90s. Okay? When she would show up on the TV, she's like, that's a good looking man. And what he's done she liked Trump, and Trump was never really political at all. He gave money to both sides, and it wasn't yesterday. I think 2011, apparently he gave money to Kamala for the DA thing, but he said that when he ran in 2016 that he gave money to both sides, and that's how you do the game. So it's like, we're on the same side. No, Trump is America first, with a little bit of problems with the Zionist stuff. And my issue with him, I talk about Kennedy, his stance on abortion, his civil rights stuff. I think that we need to go past all that shit. We're all Americans, and we need to say that. And we shouldn't look at each other based on the color of our skin. If you're the best for the job, you should be able to get it. If it gets to a point now that there's some sort of discrimination based on something, races, whatever, then you stop that. And we already have federal law for this. We need to get past it. I mean, when I grew up, this shit was kind of like pretty much solved. Still have pockets of stuff, individual incidences, but it wasn't real, really. But then we allowed these people to just come back and just say that they're the victims about everything, and they will continually claim victimhood. And if somebody else says, no, I'm the victim, and they get upset, then it goes up and up and up and up and up. And of course, who's always at the top of that is, as you know. So this happens, and Kennedy has issues. I don't know where he sits. I try to look on his website to find out where he talks about the border. And it's like, he talked about this after Biden stepped away. He said, this is what's very important, our debt and chronic disease. I'm with him. I'm like, but you cannot bring that debt down if you actually do not secure the southern border, because the people who come across is going to be a drain on our resources. They're not going to put any into it. Some will, but they're going to. If you're going to put them under Social Security and Medicare and all that shit, who's going to pay for that? And it's going to continue to make. It's just not the 40 trillion dollars in debt. It's much more than that. We talk about all this safety stuff. So what is he going to do? He's going to have to raise taxes, because that's what Democrats do. Okay, that's fine to a point, but is it really going to do anything? If you don't shut down the border, that has to be number one. You shut that fucking thing down. And you're not going to go house to house and deport people unless you have real intelligence that they're involved in criminal activity. Now, a lot of people on the left or right will say that coming across the border is criminal activity. But not Kamala. She said that we're not going to prosecute people for coming across the border. This when it comes down to actual black and white differences between the candidates, this is one of them. She clearly would keep the border open. I don't know why that is, but she's gonna with her millions of dollars, she's gonna be away from anything. She's not gonna be really worried about anything happening to her, but the rest of us will have to deal with it. And Trump is not. He was the president. He could have done a lot more on the border. He could show any chart he wants to, but there's still millions of people came across during the 4 years he was president. Shouldn't have happened. Bobby, I'm not sure where he's at. He's talked about it on certain shows that he's going to do something at the border. I don't know what that means. if you're going to run for the president now, especially if we're going to actually look at policy, you have to tell us how you're going to do it. I would advise both the people that actually want to do something about the border, you would use your own military that we have, you would shut that thing down, and while you're sitting there and guarding that thing, you will put a real wall on the on the border, not fucking fence, a real fucking wall. And that's a lot of jobs there anyway, and then all the people can actually get more jobs down there, and maybe it'll help up those towns there, and maybe they'll get some of Boomtown as well. That has to happen, because no matter how much that wall is going to take to build, 100 billion, whatever, it's minuscule how much it's going to cost to pay for all the people that are here already, and there's still people coming across the border. That's trillions of dollars of shit. And then also what some of them actually do when they get here, killing our people, giving drugs to them. You're talking, I mean, if you actually look at the direct and indirect result of this, we're talking about hundreds of thousands of people have died in this country for what we haven't done in the southern border. What the Democrats proposed would have not done anything. They basically said, yeah, you come across and we'll put you on a thing and we'll put money there for that. But there's nobody that says take them to go back to where they went. This is not World War II, and people are trying to get away from a tyrannical dictator. Apparently, this is people leaving because they think they're going to be able to get the United States and get some money from it, and that's why they're doing it. And this goes back to why I'm talking about the people that vote for this stuff almost always are white, single, liberal women, and they just out of their empathetic, they want to do that. But meanwhile, they will live in areas where they're not at. And now they might say shit when they show up. And then guess what happens? They show up to the house to say, hey, I'm going to do this in your house. And these people are not speaking English. And they go online and says, yeah, they came out to do that. And I didn't understand anything he said. And he was kind of looking at me. And well, you're the reason why they're here. And then, that's a very low level. And then you get the other ones where they actually follow a woman while she's like running around, and then they end up getting killed. And then you got like years ago in Iowa, he's like, you can't blame a whole culture for this. It's also in the West as well. All these people came from Africa. They've let people away, even though they killed people. It's part of our culture to do this. Oh, well, shit. Then it's fine. We've allowed, when I talk about liberal women, men really has the biggest brain because we never checked it. Because let me tell you this, I'm 28 minutes in, but it's our responsibility to lead. And people don't want to hear that. They want to believe that we live in this equality type of area. No, women don't want this. They want men to lead. It's absolutely, that's what they're attracted to. And this idea that when we as men allow this type of leadership from women, and we don't do anything about it, or we're complicit in it, and if we say we can't, so you can't say anything about her because she's a black woman, that just shows that it's on us, and we have never checked it because the old thing was, well, we still won't have sex with you, so we're gonna let you do whatever you want to do, so we'll just let them do it. And then what happened is they got more power, and we've allowed whatever it's for, DEI or what, we allowed women to get into positions that they're so bat shit crazy that they're going to destroy the entire country. So people on the right are worried about saying anything about Kamala now because she's a person of color and she's a woman. And they're like, oh, I can't say it. Fuck this. We have to stand up. I mean, we don't have to sit there and say a woman can't be president, but we can say this is our policy and look at her policy. She has to be responsible for the border because she was the czar of the border. That has to be on her, regardless. And you have to continually hit that and hit that and hit that. I know. What she did as a DA and all that stuff, I think it's fair game. I don't think it'll help. Just because Trump is now pivoting to do things for the black people, it's not going to do anything. He got 8% of the vote last time. It might help in Georgia. He might get 4 people in Atlanta that might vote for him. But I think he'll probably get 90%, or she'll get to 90%, but I don't think it's going to make any difference because black women vote, and they vote 95 to 99% Democratic all the time. And the only reason why they do that is because that party, in their mind, is the one that gives them enough money, a bunch of stuff. And they want that because they want that. Because especially the United States, we've deified them for so long, which makes no sense. They raised the most criminalized women or men out there because there's no men in the house, and nobody will talk about it. There are some, but if you do, if you're a black person, you're Uncle Tom. If it's me, I'm racist. We just have to have more common sense in this country. So, as bad as I say, white women especially when it comes to liberal women, because they do not look at the actual evidence about anything. It's all based on emotion, especially when they're young. And a lot of them actually change later in life, but social media almost puts us on steroids, and they find other people out there that have the same type of ideas, and so if you have this conversation that says you do realize that when you have conceived, that's a different DNA strand, that's a potential human, and why would you want to kill it? It's my body. The science is now clear on this, and why we're still doing this, I don't understand. And the thing is, they think that Europe is so much, more liberal, but they're not. In most places, you have to go to the doctor, and you can't have abortion after the first trimester. We're the most evil country in the world when it came to that until we turned away Roe versus Wade. But still, in the areas that are run by Democrats, some of them, I think you can have an abortion in the third trimester. I mean, it's evil. And the thing is, when we talk about what actually happens and what these babies are actually being sacrificed for, I mean, it's all out there. Just take a dive in satanic rituals and what abortion really means, and the blood from all that. Some of that's all bullshit. A lot of that is ritualistic in nature. And I'm just going to tell you how it works. Both sides have this ritual shit. They do. If you talk about skull and crossbones, and at the colleges that do this, the IBG, and you have the stuff out west where they go out and all the men come together and the leaders and they do crazy shit with Mulak and Baphomet. Do you think that's just for shicks and diggles? Whether they actually believe it? These rituals have been around for thousands of years, and they think they get these type of power. This is what they do, and I think part of it was actually, if you watch that movie, Late Night with the Devil, they talk about this a little bit, about how this ritual things to get power and stuff, and I think it's 100% true. Like I said, whether they believe it or not, they use it, they do it. The spirit cooking that the Democrats, their paintings that they had in their house. I mean, it's all disgusting and it's all satanic. So abortion is clearly satanic. But Gene, it means that you're this crazy ass Bible thumping person. No, I just think there's a difference between evil and not evil, and there is actual spiritual war that's being fought right now. And the fact is, as men, we have not stood up and said enough is enough. And will we ever? Europe's gone. It's fucking gone. What we think, people talk about how radicalized the religion is in this country. Imagine in England about 20 years from now. It's all gonna be run by Muslims, and it's gonna be a theocratic state. It's going to be, because they are gonna outbreed the population, and they're gonna instill these people, and you're gonna have people that are really, really, really out there, and so it has to be more of not the modern Muslim Islamic look at, but the actual from the book itself. It's going to be horrible. It's going to happen in Sweden. It's going to happen in Canada. It's going to happen in Germany, because they allow thousands and millions of people to come in this country, and we're doing it here in this country as well. Now we have different issues. A lot of them are people come across the border are probably Christians or Catholics, but we're getting more Africans and people from the other part of the world's coming through as well. But I look at it from an economic standpoint. You can, it says, Bobby Kennedy says, well, the middle class has been left behind. Trump says the same thing. But it'll never change until you shut down the border. And then if these people go out and they do something stupid, I don't care if it's jaywalking, if they don't have their papers. I know this is not fucking Nazi Germany, but if you don't have your papers and you're not here legally, I don't give a shit if it's a misdemeanor, you go back. And if you happen to be a family and you have 3 or 4 people here, that they go back too. Like I said, they're not going to go house to house. It's not going to happen. But if you get caught doing something, now they won't do that. They'll say it has to be something more than just that. But obviously, if you do something that would be a felony, then you go back. And if the countries don't like it, I don't give a shit. You do it anyway. What are they going to do to the United States? Nothing. We have to show our power in our own hemisphere when it comes to this. And I have no problem too. Have an old division to do the southern border. We have a Space Force now. You definitely could have a southern border force as well, and recruit these people and make sure that they meet certain types of physical standards above what we already see. I mean, go on TikTok and look at the people who are still in the military. Look, when I was in the military, I was soft. I was in the Air Force, but I was soft. I was a little bit fat around here. I wasn't that strong. Somebody like me should have never been out. How I fit physically probably wouldn't be good in the field like infantry. Now, obviously, if I had the time, I would have got myself in shape. I would have actually defended the country regardless. But if you do something like this, you're going to have to make sure that they're the top of the people. Marines, the Marines have gone down that road as well. Not as much as the other ones because they're smaller. But there should be another force right there, and that should be there. Like I said, it'll be a good thing for them. Those towns will do better. It'll probably do well economically down there, and it would show that we're actually defending our borders. So I think that's a good thing. So. I lost my train of thought because my wife sent me something. But anyway, yeah. So, as I said, I can blame liberals, white liberals, but the issue is that men have to lead. And that I'm called to something, whether it's God or something else that realizes that's true. Everybody knows that intrinsically, that men should be leading in the house. And that should come out, right? Women should be there to provide what makes a house, right? And men are supposed to go out and provide and protect it. This is something we've done forever, and we just get away from it. And eventually, there are way too young men that are either they're just lost because they don't think that they're going to have the same thing that I had as growing up. And they just sit there in the room and don't do anything. And I have that right now in my own house. They lose their motivation, and they think the world's against them, and all that is by design, and you go down that rabbit hole as well. So when it comes down to it, we're the ones who have to stand up, and no matter what they call us, whatever it is. I mean, there's a guy over in England that is now going to go up in front of the court because he said something online about a pundit saying that why are these women talking about men's football, and apparently he's going to have to go out and go up to court about this. And people tell me that they have free speech in England. And it's the same people. These are liberal. She's a black woman, but clearly they're on that side, and they can't deal with any type of criticism. Well, you can't say anything about it because you can hurt their fucking feelings. Well, people, we need to fucking wake up. Shit's changing. Whatever you believe, if you think that Biden has been is set out to install this, to have no democratic democracy. I can't say the word because she apparently they're just already giving her to delegates. It's not really how democracy is supposed to work. And you go down that rabbit hole, but we can't continually do this. You can't go on there and hear, oh, there were 3 gunmen there. No, there was the one that tried to kill Trump, and then he killed that person, and 2 other people that shot him. Oh, that ladder, he brought the ladder with, no. He got up on top of the AC unit, got on top like that, and shot that way. The other issue about why they saw him and didn't do anything about it, is that negligent, or is that, I mean, you know you're gonna get caught if you did this, right? If you're like in the government, you wanna do that. So it's just negligent. And then I found out yesterday that that villainy was not in their area that they're supposed to search with or look at. I'm like, that makes no sense. It's 130, 140 yard shot. I can do that. In fact, his shot was good enough. Trump just moved his head long enough. If he didn't, he'd be dead. So there was nothing wrong with the shot that he made. Normally you have to be 3 or 4 or 5 100 yards away to be outside of that area. So obviously there was problems there. I don't want to go down the road that I think that this, or they just allowed it to happen. My wife kind of thinks that they did that. I mean, it looks that way, but why? It just seems like it's so bad that makes no sense. You know, you would think you would have a better plan than that. Anyway, this has been a long time, long video. There's a lot of things that are going to happen in the next 4 or 5 months. I would not be shocked whoever would win. It could be, I mean, Kennedy could. If they get him on the stage and he's in front of the people and he destroys both of them in a debate, it could happen. Trump could win. The thing is that Trump has got a ceiling. These other candidates don't, really. We all, the right-wing media or whatever, not the normal mainstream media, thinks that Kamala has this ceiling as well. Well, not really. Everybody, I mean, she wasn't never going to be the president in 2020 because she got destroyed on stage. But there's a possibility if she becomes the president in the next 3 weeks or months and does something, that'll take some more independence on her side and not be enough for her to win. But you would think right now that independents are all to Trump for the most part, if they're really independent. So, unless you want to vote for Bobby, which is fine. And I still think Trump wins because of that, because those independents that would go to Bobby probably would have went to Kamala anyway. So it's going to be interesting from a political science type of thing, but there's more things here. It's the result of whoever becomes president. And I can deal with Bobby and Trump, but you can't have Kamala in there because what she would do with that power. You think that this executive orders was crazy under Biden? Wait till she's in charge. No, thank you. I mean, this woman, no. I don't even know really where she feels. Because she was a DA. She put people in jail. She put a lot of black men in jail. It's crazy that they would vote for a cop, basically, to be the president if you're a black person. But whatever, that's racist, but whatever, that's what I'm saying. And she's just not this. She didn't grow up in that. Well, she's from Oakland, but she came from her country, or her family's Indian. She grew up in that culture. I think she prays to that, kind of like Vivek does. Not that there's anything wrong with that. I'm just saying she's not Christian per se, and she's not African American as we know it as. We're looking at African American as those who are the descendants of those who were brought over here for slavery. She's not that. So. She is black, I guess, because her father was Jamaican. That's like saying that The Rock is black. I guess he is because his father was. Or the Samoans are all black. They're not. So, and she said to herself that she's South Asian. It doesn't matter if I would have voted for Vivek. I don't have any issue with that. Her policies are what the Republicans should go after, and I think the whole thing about concealer in chief should be amplified. She was there the entire time. She knew that he was going down, and she didn't do anything about it. It should have been on her. It should be something she would have done to the American people and said, "We've got to move." You know, of course, they said that she would have probably take over the presidency at that point. But she didn't, and she lied to the country. She was named the czar of the border. She didn't do nothing about it. These are things that you could clearly lay just on her, and then the Biden policies as well. But those things would be enough. You would think in a normal election, but this is not going to be normal. We have a former president that's running again who almost got shot. So you're going to have that image, and people are going to vote for him. And if shit goes down, and it's clear that something goes down, there's going to be something really bad that's going to happen in this country. We're like, I'm not going to say we're at the end, but let's just say if this whole conspiracy that Biden is dead, if we found out later on he was dead, and he'd been dead for a couple of days, yeah, I think something would have happened. I don't know what would have happened. I mean, as the DNC has been lying the entire time. And they basically had Pelosi and her cronies come in and just install Kamala to do this. I don't know what I've done. People, again, these are the same women. A lot of people, again, I said 3% of the population that are online said they'll vote for a dung beetle over Trump. But you can't do anything about people like that. You have to go to the independents, and you have to talk about the white vote and the Rust Belt, because that's where Trump will win or not win. He has to win Pennsylvania. He has to win either Wisconsin or Michigan. And he has to win Georgia. And if he does that, he's going to win the president. He's going to win Florida. He's going to win everything out there. He might win Nevada or Arizona. But if he wins that, he's going to win the presidency. A week ago, it looked like he was going to win a lot of states. Maybe 35 states. Now that's going to come back because there is some energy now. The younger person is running, and they'll use that. If that's just a female, they're going to use that. But that's red meat. That's red meat for their base. I don't know exactly at this point if it's going to change any independents. That actually was in that poll last week. I don't think it will. There might be a couple women that now go to Kamala because they'll think, oh my God, it's like Obama when he came to office and everything was so great. Well, kind of like that's when everything kind of stopped, to be honest, because he came out as a unifying candidate, and then he became one of the most divisive candidates after that. And this is where we are right now. But again, it's not Obama. It's men that just forget that where their place is in the world for whatever reasons. And I'm not sure we're ever going to be able to get it back, but because no matter what you do if you become more this and that, you're still going to be called you're sexist and racist, and you believe in the old thing, and we had put women in chains and all that bullshit that we never really did. But anyway, I'm going to stop right now. Let me know what you think in the comments. I know it was a very, very long video, but I had to get this off. But anyway, you guys have a good day, and we'll talk to you later.